Welcome to the channel. My name is Matthias. Today, we're going to talk about Captain America, and I was going to do a top 10 of my favorite Captain America villains. So, I was going through my collection, and specifically, like Captain America comic books, I only have 82 in total. I thought I had much more. Now, this is like a preliminary video. Like, once I go through my whole collection, I'll redo this, but with the stats of my complete collection. But the thing is that with 82 appearances, I didn't have too many repeat characters that Cap battled against. So I couldn't fill out a top 10 for now. Maybe in the next video I will. So I was going to do a top 5, but the two characters that I was going to leave out, I really like. So we're going to do a top 7 greatest enemies slash adversaries for Captain America. So now before we get into my collection, let's dive into Cap's trading card from Marvel Series 1. Where Cap has a whopping 2,433 battles. Now he has oh man, I need glasses. I'm getting old. So he has 1,889 victories. He has 347 losses. Boy, I'm struggling. I need glasses badly. And he has 197 ties. And here it establishes that his greatest arch enemies are Red Skull and Baron Zemo. The second one, Helmet. Actually, on the card, it's not specified. Like, I automatically thought it was Helmet. Maybe it's both. Now, for my Captain America collection, like I have a good chunk from the 80s, some stuff from the 90s, and in the 2000s, like I have very little. And I did get back on board with Captain America when he became Hydra Cap. I know a lot of people hate that era. I thought it was interesting. But at least for me, like 1980s Cap is just pure gold. I love that era for the character. And I have to say, like in the early 90s, Steve was wonderfully awkward during that period. So let's get into this ranking. And at number 7, I put a character that always brings out some interesting stories. We're going to talk about Mr. Hyde. I have 3 battles in total with Captain America, where Steve comes out on top twice. He loses once. So obviously, we only have 3 confrontations, but like every time with Mr. Hyde, he has like the same trope in those stories. Now, Mr. Hyde is always working with other villains. And the thing is that, like, most of the time it's Cobra slash King Cobra. And, like, I remember another story with him working with Bartruck. But always the same thing happens where Mr. Hyde starts getting crazier and crazier and more unhinged, scaring the shit out of the person that he's working with, to the point that they don't want to work with him anymore and they end up teaming up with, in this case, Captain America. But, like, very recently I read a Spider-Man story where the same thing happens. That crazy aspect of Mr. Hyde always lends to interesting stories, to the point that like I've seen stories after like the main conflict where Mr. Hyde starts hunting down his old allies to make them pay because they betrayed him and stuff like that. And on a fight level, like in the case with Captain America, he always gives them a hard time. But now we're going to go to number 6, where we have John Walker, who has battled against Captain America under many different identities, because first he was the Super Patriot, and then he became Captain America, and then after that he became the US agent. The whole story arc that we got between Captain America and John Walker, where he was the Super Patriot, and then through some shenanigans of the Red Skull, he becomes Captain America. And Steve Rogers loses the mantle of Captain America, and that we get that fantastic arc till Steve Rogers becomes Captain America again. It's one of my all-time favorite story arcs because we get to see John Walker having a hard time dealing with the mantle and legacy of Captain America. And he's not sure if he's up to the task. And then we have that final battle between John Walker, Captain America, and Steve Rogers, who during that time became the captain. And then, very oddly, John Walker gives Captain America back the mantle of Captain America and the costume. And then the costume that Cap was using as the captain ends up being used by John Walker. But the interesting thing with these two characters and the conflict that we have between them is that they're two sides of the same coin. Their views on patriotism and how to serve their country is very different. And this leads to some very interesting stories. So let's go to number 5. Oh, I forgot. With John Walker, we have Cap having one clean win on John and 2 ties, at least within my collection. Now we can go to number 5, where we have Viper, a old school Cap villain. You have that old classic story where she takes over Hydra and Cap takes in Rick Jones as the new Bucky, and seemingly Cap died during a confrontation that he had with Hydra with Viper at the helm, which I'm pretty sure that Jim Steranko did the art to that whole story arc or part of it, and it's freaking fantastic. And I really love the crazy story arc that we had in the 80s, right around the same time that we had the whole John Walker arc where Viper tried to poison all of the population of Washington, D.C., including Ronald Reagan, and change everyone into serpent people, causing this utter anarchy across the whole city. And she's running around DC with machine guns. And also, she had made the move to take over the Serpent Society. Like, it's a fantastic story arc. The thing is that she's always a handful for Captain America. Now, within my collection, they have battled 4 times. Cap has defeated her 3, and we have 1 time. So now let's go to number 4. That's very much tied to the previous character. We're talking about the Serpent Society, where we have the same stats. So we have 4 battles between Cap and the Serpent Society. We have 3 wins in 1 time. I do have to mention they do not overlap every single time with Viper. The thing is that the Serpent Society has a very colorful cast of snake-themed villains. That, at least for me, we have like 3 big standouts. We have the first leader of this group called Sidewinder, who builds up the Serpent Society, and like how the society works is really interesting. Then we have Cobra / King Cobra, who also is pretty interesting because like when he knows he's not going to come out on top, he's always going to do something interesting or try to negotiate his way out of any type of problem. Also from this group, we're going to get one of Cap's love interests, Diamondback. So, when the Serpent Society pops up in this story, you're going to be in for a fun read. Now, let's go to number 3, which I put AIM, the Criminal Scientific Organization. So, within AIM, we're going to have MODOK, but I don't have too many battles with Cap and MODOK yet, so I'll do like a separate group for that. Now, with AIM, we have 3 wins for Cap, 1 loss, so a total of 4. So when we're talking about AIM, we know we're dealing with, again, with MODOK, or with the Cosmic Cube, or possibly with the Red Skull. AIM as an organization over the years has really won me over. I used to think they were super lame with the yellow beehive suits, but like especially with Hickman's run, he really elevated the group. And I also love the time when Sunspot, since he was super rich and he didn't want to deal with all the trouble that AIM was causing, he bought out the whole group. But again, this is not tied to Captain America per se. So let's go with number 2, because number 1 is going to surprise a lot of people. So I put Red Skull, who I consider to be like Captain America's greatest enemy. So up till now, I only have 4 battles between Captain America and the Red Skull. I know I have more within my collection, but the thing is that we have 2 clean wins for Cap, 1 loss, 1 tie. The guy is just rotten to the core, and he represents everything contrary to Captain America. And he's completely obsessed with Captain America to the point that he actually inhabited for a real long time a clone body of Steve Rogers. And Red Skull not only is hellbent on trying to destroy the United States and everything that it represents, he wants to destroy, obviously, Captain America, but not only him, Steve Rogers and everything around Steve Rogers. So let's leave Red Skull behind and let's go to number 1, which is going to surprise a lot of people, but it's Iron Man. In my collection, up until now, and I know I have many more battles between both of these characters, I have 5 confrontations where surprisingly, Cap has 4 losses and only 1 clean win over Tony Stark. Now, the conflict that we have between Steve Rogers and Tony Stark, it's really, really interesting. And like, Steve isn't a founding Avenger, but he's almost is. Now, the conflict that we have between both of these heroes, that again, both Avengers, is that many times Tony straight up vetoes any decision that Captain America wants to take. Or a lot of times, Tony does not tell Captain America what he's going to do, especially if it's like something ethically gray or complicated. Like with Armor Wars or further down the line, I've not gotten to that part of my collection with the Time Runs Out story arc that we had with Hickman. There are a lot of times where Tony tries to keep Captain America distracted so he could do his thing and stuff like that. So he's sort of like a douchebag with poor Steve. And obviously, this lack of respect really pisses Captain America off. He tends to belittle Steve Rogers a lot too. And then a lot of times, Steve has to clean up Iron Man's mess. So it's like a very interesting dynamic there. So we're gonna leave this video here. Maybe let's see further down the line what's gonna happen once I go through my complete collection, how things change, who goes up, who goes down, who I'm adding to this list. So see you guys next time. Bye.